Like if you had met me back then, I was like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I've got to go to the gym. I've got this cooking to do, right? My husband was bulk eating. I was bulk eating. So I could have told you and made my days sound amazing. But of course, the reason is that I had to do that. It was a protection mechanism so that I wouldn't feel the pain of being sad and feeling alone and feeling lost. People say, I'll do this, I'll do X, Y, and Z, I'll change, I'll, speak up, I'll go after that thing. When?
Right.
When I have the time, when I have the money, when I have the confidence.
Yep.
And so I want people listening right now to now write down what that when is they're waiting for. And now I'm going to ask a follow-up question. What if that when never came?
So true.
What would you do today? Because if someone's sitting there going, you know what, I've always wanted to be the most amazing pianist. So now let's say I want to be the best pianist in the world, but you know what? I need to wait for when I have enough time because I've got my kids and I don't have the time to practice. When I have enough money because I don't have enough money right now to buy a piano. What if you didn't ever have enough money? What if you didn't ever have enough time? Are you okay with never being a good pianist? Like, are you okay with that? And if you are, then great. But if you're like, actually, no, now at least you recognize, and this is just the first step. Now, the whole idea of this is to just recognize you're not living the life you want.
Yeah.
That's the first step because we all fear asking ourselves very hard questions like, am I happy? Am I doing what I want? Is this exciting? Now, why are we so reluctant to ask those questions? Think about the knock-on effect. And in my book, the chapter is open a can of worms and embrace the ick. The can of worms is the hard questions.
Yeah.
And embracing the ick means then you have to deal with all the things that come along with a hard question. So for instance, the simple, easy one I think everybody will get is, am I happy in this relationship? Now, if you're married and you ask yourself that question, what if the answer is no? If the answer is yes, amazing, right? Now you can just move on.
Of course.
But if the answer is no, now you have to ask yourself, am I willing to put in the time and effort to make it work? Are they willing to put in the time and effort to make it work? Are they willing to go to therapy? What if we can't agree? Does this mean we have to get divorced? Who gets the house? Who gets the kids at Christmas? Will I die alone? Like there's so many questions that will come with this one question of am I happy? So you can understand, like no judgment. I actually totally understand why, as humans, when we start to think about all the knock-on effect, that we just say, screw it. I'm just going to stay married.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But is that a life that will actually lead you to full-time fulfillment and happiness? No.
Right.
Because you're settling. You're in a relationship that doesn't actually fill you up. And so asking yourself, figuring out if you're in purgatory or the mundane is number one. Figuring out what would happen, like how to break that thought pattern. And then the third thing to your question that is really important. Did you ever see the movie Up, the cartoon animation?
No, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I can picture him in the balloon, I think. Or
yes.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where there's a dog and the dog every so often will talk to its owner. It'll be like really present. All of a sudden a squirrel will come and it'll go squirrel. And immediately it gets distracted, right?
Right.
We all have squirrels in our lives that become distractions. Now, here's the thing about distractions. Sometimes we need them to self-soothe.
Right.
Because I wasn't happy, I kept doing the same thing. I was cooking, cleaning for my husband because it started from my belief system, right? I'm now in this. I don't hit rock bottom. So I find myself in purgatory of the mundane. I'm not making a change because I feel like I need the confidence to tell my husband that. So I keep swallowing it, like telling myself, it's okay, it's okay. And then the last piece is I'm using distractions as a way to not address the hard questions.
Right.
And so, guys, we can convince ourselves that we're busy. We can convince ourselves all the reasons why we may not have the time or energy to actually address the question of, are we happy? But let's actually look at those things that we're doing. And then you need to ask yourself, is it something you need to do or is it a distraction to self-soothe? Now, I'll give you an example of my distraction that I was doing to self-soothe. Every day I was waking up, I was completely bored out of my nut. I did not want to cook, didn't want to clean. That was not my dream. I had big audacious dreams to be in movies. And here I was, I felt like I blinked. And here I was at home for 7, 8 years taking care of my husband. And the question was, how on earth did I really get here? And it never is a blink. It's decisions that you make slowly over time.
Right.
So I don't have the confidence to speak up. I don't tell my husband. And every day I wake up totally bored. Now, when you're bored, it allows your mind to ask questions. So, what do we do to self soothe, to protect ourselves as we fill our day up? Keep busy, keep so busy, keep
Mhm.
being distracted so that you never have a moment alone with yourself to listen to the whisper that your mind is trying to tell you.
Totally.
And my distractions were very unhealthy. My distractions end up being I had a very unhealthy relationship with food growing up. Finding my husband allowed me to feel very secure with myself. So my unhealthy relationship with food really did take a side, like was put aside, and I was really just enjoying life.
Yeah.
Then what ended up happening, my husband goes back to work. I end up being a stay-at-home wife. I hate my life. I am miserable. I am desperately looking for distractions that I don't ever have to ask myself the question of, am I happy? And so what ended up happening was my bad habit and my bad relationship with food ended up surfacing again. And I became obsessed with calorie counting, running on a treadmill, and it filled my days. And
Right.
that's the thing, it filled my days. And so I kept saying, like, if you had met me back then, I was like, oh my God, I'm so busy. I've got to go to the gym. I've got this cooking to do, right? My husband was bulk eating. I was bulk eating. So I,
Right.
I could have told you and made my day sound amazing. But
Yeah.
of course, the reason is that I had to do that. It was a protection mechanism so that I wouldn't feel the pain of being sad and feeling alone and feeling lost.
Mhm. That's huge. That's powerful.